I enjoy coming to work every day knowing that clients are depending on me to guide them through whatever financial needs they have.
Every client we have is different. And so it's really about finding out what's really the most important thing per client.
With financial planning, everything is interconnected. So a comprehensive plan means that you're taking care of income needs now, income needs in the intermediate term, and income needs long term. We'll do an asset cycle portfolio. We'll do a riskalyze test. We'll do a life insurance audit or a life insurance review.
And so when we build a deep relationship with our clients, then we can take a step back and then we can look at different options to help them specifically get to their goals. One of the things I feel our job is as advisors is to introduce strategies to clients that maybe they did not know that they were out there. But it's our idea, our job to come out and say, have you ever thought about this?
And the planning it's not always about income, but a lot of it is also about the legacy. So the element of family is very important to us, and it's important to our clients.
Hello, welcome to Financially Speaking with Jeff Bush. My name is Steve Jablonski and I'm the host for today. And Jeff, we have an exciting show because it's really, I'm going to call the backbone of our philosophy and how we help people, the WellSpring formula. And with that, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, hello, Steve. Welcome to the show. It's so good to be here again on PCTV and the PCTVnetwork.com to talk about our proprietary formula, the WellSpring formula. And the reason why we want to talk about this today, Steve, is because it's really fundamental to all of the financial planning that we do with our clients. And you know, people watch this show, they kind of wonder, well, who are these two guys? Who's, you know, Jeff and Steve? They're here. They you know, we see them on PCTV all the time. And you know, what is this all about? So today, we want to really kind of dig into this a little bit about our philosophy and why it's really beneficial to our, you know, our clients, our client relationships.
And quite a lot of work went into coming up with the finished product, so to speak. Why don't we take a step back to how this all started, and really it looked at what we've been doing over 21 years, putting it all into one.
Yeah, so it really started by looking in the mirror, right? So we interviewed a lot of our clients. We conducted, I don't even remember how many interviews we conducted, but a lot, a couple dozen, several dozen. And we asked them very, you know, penetrating, specific questions about what it was like working with us and with our firm, and what they liked about working with our firm, and you know, what they say about us when they talk about us with other people. And that really was the formation of this WellSpring formula, because it gave us really some critical insight. And I remember when I first started that, I was a little tentative about that, because I'm like, what are they going to say?
Well, because we never really asked, how are we doing? You know,
yeah.
It's always we get them to where they want to go. And
yeah, and it was really kind of, you know, to me it was invigorating to start to process that way, and getting some really good feedback from the people that we work with.
And so we talk about, you know, how did we come up with the WellSpring name?
Well, the WellSpring name was a name that you and I came up with together based on all of, you know, all this data that we collected, and a name that we felt would best reflect us and who we are, you know, not only as financial professionals, but also as, you know, as individuals, as Jeff and Steve. So we liked a nice blue water, and we both have, some things that connect us to water. You like to fish, and I like to swim, and I like the beach. So, the water seemed like a natural fit for us. So that's kind of how we came up with the WellSpring formula.
And when we started this process, tell us about the brainstorming we did.
Well, the brainstorming was with our team, where we sat down and we went through all the things that we do for our clients in the course of a client relationship. And we counted 113 things that we do. And that in itself was quite an eye-opener, because it's a lot of things that we do during the course of business. And this could be, meetings that we have, follow-up that we have, phone calls that we field, emails that we send, review meetings that we have. We go on and on and on and on. We listed all these things, and it started with 113 things that we do and did with our clients, and we probably still didn't catch everything.
Right. And it's hard to put 113 things on one page. So
it is hard to put 113 things on one page. So what we did was we kind of broke them down into pillars, and then what we have is the 7 pillars. So then the 7 pillars make up this whole WellSpring formula.
And before we get into the pillars in depth, we have this formula we use, a philosophy of process. And what are our thoughts on, we're not everything to everybody?
Well, we're not all things to all people, but we are, all things to some people, right? So it kind of defined who we are as a company, as an entity, and it really allowed us to really become more selective on who we work with, right? Because some people we try to help, but quite frankly, we can't help them for whatever reason. So, it's just kind of a philosophical approach that we take, and not everybody's a fit.
Right. So why don't we get into the 7 pillars a little bit, and get a little summary of each.
Okay. Well, the 7 pillars, when you get down to the 7 pillars, we have, we have really different facets of financial planning. So we have, so we'll start with wealth management, right? So wealth management is, any financial professional will do wealth management, and we do it, and we think we do it pretty well, but that's not really how we're defined. It does not, define us. But wealth management is an important pillar of who we are and what we do. And then we get into the next pillar, which is risk management. So risk management takes on, and it's maybe Steve, I'll let you kind of take that one, because that's your area.
And with the market being that over the last 13 or 14 years has been on an upward trend, it's very difficult for people to really identify their risk tolerance, because they really have nothing to judge it to. They don't, there's no class you can go to and get educated on it. And so this is a study of how comfortable people are with fluctuations in their investment. And there's a risk score that not only the portfolios have, but each and every one of our customers, clients I should say, have their own risk score. And it's not uncommon that people are taking on way too much risk for really where they should be, not only mentally, but to reach their goals. And so what we can do in this is really get their risk level and the level of their investments on the same page, same level, so that they can reach their goals with a lot less risk and being a lot more conservative. And where we are in the market right now, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think it's a good process, because I think with a lot of people, they don't really realize what their risk level is until we take them through this process. So that we might have people that think that they're more aggressive or more prone to want to be in stocks, but then when the stocks price goes down, then they call, and then they quickly realize that no, that's not really what their risk tolerance is. So the scoring system that you use in Riskalyze kind of takes their temperature and really determines where they should be on the risk score, and how it determines the asset allocation of the recommendations that that we make.
Yep.
And then the other facet of risk management is the insurance that we do. So, whether that is life insurance or long-term care insurance, but the insurance is a part of controlling risk and future risk.
And what we find is people have disability insurance while they're working to cover their income, and then when they retire, long-term care insurance, what insurance do they have there to ensure that they're going to be able to retire okay?
Yeah, and I think it just covers the whole, we talk about, not outliving your income, right? And making sure you have enough money to live. But, what happens if you die, or what happens if you get sick? So there's a whole bunch of things that you have to consider with regard to insurance and how that, that ties into the risk management pillar, if you will. Okay. So then we get into the next pillar would be tax planning. So a lot of what we do is, we talk about taxes, we talk about income taxes, we talk about under income taxes, we talk about ordinary income tax, we talk about capital gains tax, and it's constantly changing, and we constantly have to, stay on top of this. And a lot of the planning that we do involves these retirement plans that have their own tax ramifications, whether, we talk about like an IRA, a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA. So it all is impacted by taxes. So a lot of what we do is under the tax management pillar. Then we get into legacy planning. So with legacy planning, that's really comes down to, what does your estate look like? Like, how do you want to all these assets that you've accumulated? How do you want them to be left behind? How do you want your children to receive them? Do you want your children to receive them? Grandchildren, charities. There's a whole process that we go through with this pillar to really, define one's legacy.
And first, we need to determine which are live on and which are leave on.
Yeah. So that kind of leads us into the next pillar, which is income planning. So income planning would be, that would be your live on money, right? So that's money that you want to live on first. So you really, that has to be defined first before we talk about leave on money, which is your legacy. But the income planning pillar is really, I would say, out of all the things that we do, that's probably the most important thing that we do is the income planning, and we try to make sure that people don't outlive their income.
Well, sure. There used to be when we first got in the business, it was always the three-legged stool.
Yeah, it was the three-legged stool, and that's, of course, you're referring to all the things that you do in retirement, all the sources of income that you get in retirement, and that would be you're getting income from Social Security, you're getting income from a pension, and then you're getting income from your investments. And of course now, the pensions have, we're starting to see less and less people retire with pensions, so that makes the planning that we do much more important, because they have to get income from these investments.
Yep.
The next pillar is philanthropy. So that really, that is sort of part of the legacy planning, but I guess it's a little deeper in that, this is really who you are as a person, and maybe some of the causes that you feel are very important. And really, in this world that we're living in today, now more than ever, the philanthropy part of what we do is just so important. When you see all the things that are going on in the world, and this pandemic that we've lived through the last couple years, I think the philanthropy, I find that we're talking about this more and more with our clients, because it's important not only to us, but we have found that it's important to the people that we work with.
We can also, with philanthropy, there are some things that can be done that help on someone's tax planning too, and hopefully those will always stay in there with the government.
Yeah, so there's some things that you can do with insurance, or some things that you can do with your IRA. Just as a simple example, you can direct, if you're taking a required minimum distribution, if you direct that RMD directly to a charity, it's not countable as income. So that's a pretty significant tool for a lot of people. So that falls under the category of philanthropy.
Then the last one, not to say it's a catch-all, but the value-added services.
Yeah, so the value-added services are, some of the other things that we do that we think bring value to the relationship that we have with our clients. So one would be a second opinion, right? So we have a lot of people that we work with, they have acquaintances, friends, family.
The sounding board.
The sounding board. Which is the sounding board process. It allows us to potentially work with other people, friends and family of the people that we're working with. And it could be other things too, the value added. It could be us referring people to other insurances that we don't do, like property and casualty and Medicare and that kind of thing. Or it could be some legal services that our clients need. A lot of times they're looking for us to make recommendations, or could be accounting services. So it could really covers a lot of things, but it's really important.
So if we move on to the WellSpring formula of where we really live, and I believe this is more crucial today in my career than I think I've ever seen before, just because where we are.
Yeah, so if you think back to the days when you were in school and you did geometry, and you studied these Venn diagrams. We have a nice fancy Venn diagram here where we have these two circles, and you have one circle these are all the things that matter in your life. And then you have another circle that partially intersects with this circle, and these are all the things in your life that you can control. So you have all the things that matter and all the things that you can control. And where those two circles intersect, there's where we live. That's the WellSpring formula. So in a nutshell, that's who we are. The intersection of what matters and and what you can control.
And in the form part of the formula is pretty important.
Yeah, it's the why. It's the why followed by the how. So form. If you notice in the WellSpring formula, the FORM is capitalized because that stands for form. Form is the why, and that's family, occupation, and recreation. I mean, that's why people do what they do. You know, they're living for their family, they're living for their, you know, their occupation or their vocation, and then they live for their, you know, their recreation. And that's really the why. To me, that's the most important thing. The money part of it is the how, and that comes after we understand the why. So if you look at, you know, I think I talked a little bit earlier about the fit. That, you know, make sure that everybody, you know, the people that we work with are a fit. Well, before we get to this fit decision that our team makes, we have to know all the whys. So, you know, when we first meet with somebody, we want to know all these things. We want to know the family, we want to know the occupation, and we want to know the recreation. So it's not, getting back to the 7 pillars, it's not, you know, we don't talk about wealth management in that meeting because we found that's not what people are looking for. They're looking for somebody who can help them. Maybe they want to retire early. Maybe they want to help their family out. Maybe they want to help their children start a business. Maybe they want to buy a second home in another state. You know, because there's like, you know, dozens and dozens of different things that fall under the category of the why. But that's what we have found is really important to the people that we work with.
So when we find out what the why is, tell us a little bit about the control part.
Well, the control is really our philosophy. It's, you know, that's where we get into, you know, our philosophy. We get into this, you know, all the strategies that we use, the process. It really becomes once we've defined what we can control, then that is the cornerstone of, you know, the financial plan, the planning.
So now when we get into, I know one of the pillars was wealth management, and so this is kind of a follow-up on our philosophy of you know, the process we use and, you know, how we think about investing on its, you know, asset cycle portfolio.
Yeah, so the asset cycle portfolio is like on one page, this one-page diagram, you can really, you know, see what it is that we do. So it starts symbolically with the protection umbrella, and that's, you know, where we talked about the risk management, right? So you know, that's where your insurances are. That's what's going to protect everything. And then the bottom of it is the legacy transfer bucket. So that's your legacy. So that's how, you know, that's how the money's going to get to, you know, to either the next generation or the next charity, or, you know, the people that the people in the institutions that you're going to leave behind. But the nuts and bolts of this page, Steve, are those 4 quadrants where we define those as short-term income, mid-term income, long-term income, and growth. So those are the different phases of the cycle, of the asset cycle, and the investments that lie within each of those phases are different because we have different goals and objectives and also different risk. We're looking at risk in a different way on all 4 of those. So that's what's really important. And what we have found is when we talk to people, they come in and see us, they all more than likely are going to give us all their statements, all their investments. Could be their company plan, their 401k plan. but they don't have it organized this way. It's just like accumulation of a lot of assets. Whereas, so what we're trying to do here is really get into the nuts and bolts of the planning, and this is really income planning, right? So we want to make sure we take care of short-term income. So with short-term income, how much risk do you want to take with short-term income? Not much, right?
Not much, no.
None, or not much.
None.
And then we get into the midterm income where we can take a little more risk. We can take bond risk. And then we get into some of the long-term income, which is, maybe we're pushing out now maybe 10 to 15 years. And now we know when we're looking at a 10 to 15 year time horizon, we can, afford to take a little more risk. And then we look at, the growth is maybe money that you're never going to spend or only spend in an emergency. So we can look at, different aspects. This is a timely time to do this show because, anybody can make money when the stock market is going up. It's not very hard to do. But when the market is going down, and as we record this in the early part of May of 2022, the market has been beat up for the last 4 or 5 months, and the equity markets are down, and they're down significantly, and they're down for a bunch of reasons, and we won't get into that necessarily today. But the point is that the volatility that we're experiencing is not all that unusual in that there's an ebb and flow to the market, and I think when you have this type of plan in place, and this is why our phone tends not to ring when we go through these volatile periods, because we have these plans in place and we have safety measures built in. So there's an element of safety, particularly in the first and second, and even to a certain degree in that third quadrant there, the income quadrants, where we try to build in safety, and we try to build in some guarantees where we can with some maybe some annuity products that have guarantees built into them, and it really allows you to take advantage of what growth we do have in the market.
And then when we get into the next slide is, sometimes I like to call it, people have a retirement puzzle. And everybody's puzzle is a little different. And why don't we talk about that for a little bit?
Well, I think the puzzle is that you have all these things, right? Like, so maybe you sit down to talk with somebody that's in their 60s, and they're getting ready to retire, and they're contemplating Social Security, and they may have a company pension, and there's decisions to be made on those. And then there's also, a company plan, a 401k plan, maybe an IRA, and all these other savings. So all these things have to come together, right? So that's really the WellSpring formula, right? That's where we put everything together, and we put a plan in place, and that's the strength of that is where people are getting retirement income. As we wrap up here today, Steve, did you have something else?
No, I was going to mention that we're out in the public again.
Yeah, so we're out in the public. We have a couple of shows that we're going to do. We're taking the show on the road. It's not just the show right here in this studio of ours. We're going to be out doing public seminars, and we're going to put those dates up on the screen. And if you want to come and see us, just call our office. You can order tickets to the event, or you can send us an email or give us a call, and we'll make sure you get a complimentary ticket to one of our upcoming events. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and I think we have a slide on this, is all the things that we have done in the news in the last couple of years, really, And I just want to take a minute to talk about that because if you want to refer to that, we have all these articles on our website. So you can just go right out to informedfamily.com and you can see some of the articles that we've been featured in. So including the USA Today, which I'm pretty proud of, and an interview that I did on KYW. And Steve, I think you've been featured in The Street, and we've been in U.S. News and World Report and Kiplinger and on and on and on.
Yep.
So it's been good, and some of the public relations that we were able to do, particularly during the pandemic, I think was very valuable because we were able to get the word out there. So with all that being said, I think we're about ready to wrap up another show here today on PCTV. So we're going to sign off. This is Financially Speaking.